stem cell. It's a word that you've heard a lot about in the media. It's a very charged political word, and let me just try to define it in simple terms. A stem cell is a cell that has the ability to become any other kind of cell. And it's, in that sense, we call it immature. It hasn't really decided what it wants to be when it grows up. It can develop into what appears to be a predefined set of progeny cells. And it apparently only develops in one direction. They can become more mature, but at least yet we haven't really figured out how to make them kind of go backwards in time, become less mature. Now this is a bit of a paradox because every cell in your body still maintains all the DNA, all the genetic information of any other cell. So a cell in the skin of your finger has all the genetic information to be a brain cell, has all the genetic information to be a breast cell, has all the information to be literally anything else. And it's still a bit of a mystery why the cell, that little cell of your skin, you just can't take it out and turn it into something else. And this is an area of intense research for not just cancer, but if we had a way to take the cell from one part of the body and turn it into heart cells, maybe we could grow a new heart, maybe grow a new kidney, or more the point of my business, grow new blood cells. So this is an area of intense research, and the main reason it's become so politically charged is based on where these cells initially come from. If you think about it for a minute, the ultimate stem cell is a newly fertilized egg. The egg has half a genetic component from the mom, sperm half a genetic component from the dad, and when they get mixed, basically you have one cell that will eventually become an entire organism, composed of trillions of cells, many different types of cells, and genetically, again, that one fertilized egg is no different genetically than any other cell in the mature human body. Again, the development process to go from that one cell to trillions of cells is still unknown. There's a lot of research going on there. And without going into a lot of details about the politics of that, where do you get those cells? Well, aborted fetuses is where you get cells for research, and obviously that's politically charged. So the debates going on in Congress right now, you can pretty much figure out where the battle lines are drawn. The people that are pro-abortion, people that are anti-abortion, and that's how it's lined up. So it's an area of immense medical significance to understand why does this fertilized egg become eventually going down one pathway, a heart cell, another pathway, a platelet, another pathway, skin cells, and can we reverse that, can we change that, can we grow up new organs, new tissues that can be used to replace damaged tissues in an individual. So what happens is once the cell is fertilized, each subsequent division, you go from one fertilized cell, divides, you have two cells, divides, you give me a 4, 8, 16, and so on to get to many trillions. And again, each division is not equal. That with each division of the cell, it becomes more committed. It's as if when the cell starts out, there's a limited number of doors open to that cell. And it goes, each individual cell goes through one door. Different cell goes through a different door. And there's another set of doors. So what happens is you go through this almost endless progression of doors, but you can't go back through them. And each cell, at each step of the way, has a choice of a couple different doors. But depending on where their history, it's different doors. Does this make sense? That it's a progressive differentiation process. So once a cell becomes a muscle cell, it can't go back and become a red cell. It can become a couple different kinds of muscles. It might end up with smooth muscle in the gut. It might end up with skeletal muscle in the arm. But once it makes that commitment to smooth or skeletal muscle, you can't go back again to the other type of muscle. So it's a progressive developmental process. And what we're trying to understand is how we can go forwards and backwards in that. Now for stem cell transplants, what I'm going to talk about, we'll talk about a very specific kind of stem cell. That's actually several steps down the pathway already. So you start out with that fertilized egg cell, it goes through several divisions, and some of the cells are heading on the pathway for muscles, some are heading on the pathway for maybe cells of the gut, some are heading on the pathway to become brain cells, and some are heading on the pathway certainly can control symptoms. If there's breast cancer in the bone, you can radiate it, you can make the bone pain go away. You can't cure a patient with widespread breast cancer with radiation because you can't radiate the whole body normally. And why can't you radiate the whole body? Well, you kill all the bone marrow. If you kill all the bone marrow, you don't have any cells to make white cells, platelets, or red cells. It's kind of getting towards the concept of a transplant. Chemotherapy has been, again, used for many years, and it can certainly treat bulky, extensive disease. I have plenty of patients I see that have breast cancer and other kinds of cancer throughout the body, and we can make it shrink down, but we really can't make it go away. Extensive metastatic breast cancer, I think, is still, in everyone's mind, basically an incurable disease. If it's a controllable disease, we can treat it, make patients feel better for a while, but can't get rid of it. The other role of chemotherapy, and I'll talk more about this in a minute, is right after surgery. We call it the adjuvant setting. We take the breast cancer out. We know from the size of the breast cancer, we know from whether the patient had lymph nodes involved to their armpit, that they're likely to come back. And what we've learned from the years or the decades is that chemotherapy at that point can cure some of those with it. I can prevent that cancer from coming back. And that, again, sort of leads to the concept of high-dose chemotherapy and transplant. It's a rationale for it. Now, what about chemotherapy? A lot of people have a lot of concerns about it. It's very toxic. It's expensive, time-consuming. Well, just to give you an example of cancers which regular doses of chemotherapy can often cure, not always, can often cure, shown here, Hodgkin's lymphoma. There were protocols developed about 30 years ago at NIH where Hodgkin's disease can now be cured in the majority of patients just with chemotherapy. Sometimes radiation is added also. Some non-Hodgkin's lymphoma can now be cured with regular chemotherapy. Childhood leukemia, I think, is one of the great advances in the treatment of cancer. This was a uniformly incurable disease in the 1950s, and gradually, by developing protocols and built on previous protocols, about 80% of children with leukemia can now be cured of their disease and live normal lives. And it's not uncommon now for me to see patients that are 30 years out from the treatment of childhood leukemia, now adults, and they're fine. So it works. It can work. Testicular cancer, another major step forward. When I was starting my training about 25 years ago, it was an incurable disease. Everyone died of testicular cancer. The new drugs, this plasma became available. It's picked up in a very strange screening system looking at whether chemotherapy drugs, new chemotherapy drugs, can mess up bacterial DNA. Why in the world would that work? And it turned out it was very effective in testicular cancer, and most patients with testicular cancer can now be cured. One highly publicized case of that is Lance Armstrong, of course. Lance Armstrong is one, he's 3 tour process since he had his testicular cancer. He had testicular cancer metastatic to the brain, very advanced disease. He got regular chemotherapy, and he's now out about 5 years from that treatment. So it works. It's very toxic for Lance Armstrong. He was actually, he almost ended up getting a transplant. He didn't need to have it. He was cured before he needed it. And some adult leukemias and lymphomas can now be cured with transplant. And there's been patients out over 25 years who has not come back. What is this? Well, let me give you what is transplant, what is high-dose chemotherapy, how does this all fit together? And the concept is very simple, that if a given dose of chemotherapy or radiation or combination can kill most but not all the patient's cancer cells. What if we increase the doses tenfold? And this is a question that my former mentor in Seattle asked in the early 1950s. We knew then that nitrogen mustard, which was a product of the chemical warfare industry, could kill lots of cancer cells, leukemia cells, lymphoma cells, but the cancer usually came back. And his question was, well, what if we go up on the dose? Well, the answer is if you go up on the dose, you may well kill the cancer, but you also kill most of the once they're in liquid nitrogen, those cells can live basically probably forever. They've been used over 20 years, after 20 years of storage, and they're still fine. So then, once you have those cells in the freezer, you're unshackled. You can go and give much higher doses of chemotherapy to the patient, high enough doses to hopefully kill all the patient's cancer cells. And the patient you mentioned earlier that I took care of in Salt Lake, he had lymphoma, gave very high, restored his stem cells, gave him very high doses of chemotherapy, gave those stem cells back, and it worked. And we unfortunately did not give him any lymphoma cells when he grows, and we were able to eliminate all of his cells throughout his body, lymphoma cells. Now, of course, you still have the problem, you lose the hair, it does grow back, you get pretty bad mucositis in the gut, but that will resolve. So that's the concept. The idea is that the transplant is a trick to allow us to give higher doses of chemotherapy than could otherwise be possibly given, with the hope that that would be high enough to kill all the cancer cells. So these are diseases that high-dose chemotherapy with stem cell rescue can often or sometimes cure. So adult leukemia, lymphoma, occasionally we can cure with regular chemotherapy, but it's more often curable if we can escalate the dose, give about 5 times higher doses of chemotherapy. And again, that one patient that we talked about, he was one of those. Multiple myeloma, the question mark there, it's a disease of the bone marrow. It's got a little bit of publicity recently for like the name, the woman that ran for vice president.
Geraldine.
But, yeah, exactly. She has multiple myeloma and has gone before several congressional hearings asking for more funding for research into this. And transplant actually looks very promising for this disease. And there's patients that I've been involved in that are about 6, 7 years out from the transplant, still have to come back and hold their breath and see if they can go back. There's a number of rare childhood solid tumors that are curable with transplant, and as I already alluded to, testicular cancer can be cured even after it comes back with just like one dose of chemotherapy. So what about, let's talk a little bit now, focus in now on what we actually do with breast cancer, chemotherapy with breast cancer. And there's 2 different roles for chemotherapy in breast cancer patients. First is adjuvant chemotherapy, and the idea is to reiterate what I said a moment ago, is after surgery, patients who have a high chance of relapse, recurrence, chemotherapy can decrease that chance. It really doesn't take it to 0. Some patients will still recur despite the chemotherapy, and some patients wouldn't come back anyway, even if they had had chemotherapy. How do we know this? Well, there are studies that started in, actually, Italy 35 years ago now, where it was known that women who have a large tumor, women who have lymph nodes positive for breast cancer in the armpit, had a very high chance of coming back. And there's published tables that you can read that say, given the size of the tumor, given the number of lymph nodes, the probability is 10%, 80%. And it's fairly standard, reproducible around the world. So what they did was, about 35 years ago, Bonadonna in Italy basically did a randomized trial. Half the women who were high risk got adjuvant chemotherapy, usually weekly for 6 months. Half the women didn't need chemotherapy. And what happened? And what happened was, initially, for about 3 years of follow-up, there's no difference. The same number of patients relapsed either way. Toxicity of chemotherapy was relatively minimal, not quite as minimal as it is today. And he came under a lot of criticism. Giving chemotherapy for no good use, it's not working, is this ethical? Well, after about 5 years, the follow-up it became clear that the patients who got the chemotherapy had a lower relapse rate. In 10 years or 15 years, it was dramatically different. So it took several years to show that there's a difference between those who got chemotherapy and not. And it's now the standard of care around the world, based on that study and actually several others that followed, that yes, you can cut down the chance of cancer coming back by giving chemotherapy. And the concept is that after surgery, in those women that you can find as high risk, many of them who have breast cancer cells elsewhere in the body that you simply can't detect. And chemotherapy basically goes everywhere in the body. reason it started up then is that's when we learned about the stem cells. We learned how to isolate stem cells. We learned that stem cells we get from the blood actually work better than stem cells we get from the bone marrow. And we really don't understand it, they just grow faster. And the toxicity of transplants was going down dramatically. When I first started in this business in the early 70s, the death rate from a transplant using your own stem cells was in the order of 10 or 15%, and that's too much. We actually did some breast cancer autologous transplants in the early 70s and abandoned that approach because the death rate was much too high. With more modern antibiotics and modern technology to isolate the stem cells, collect them, we're down to about 1% or less. And this has allowed a resurgence in interest in treating patients for whom we really didn't know whether it's going to work that well or not. There's excellent rationale for it, and a number of centers started doing this in the late 80s. Now, what happened was actually that the practice of high-dose chemotherapy for breast cancer got way ahead of the evidence. And I'll show you in a minute that the evidence is still uncertain about whether it really is effective or not. But for a period of time in the early to mid-90s, the number one disease for which transplants were performed, stem cell rescue were performed, was breast cancer. There are centers that sprouted up around the country that that's all they did, transplants for breast cancer. Thousands of women were being transplanted, and the data wasn't yet even beginning to come in is actually nothing that has been, it's been something we've known in the transplant community and people that do this kind of work on for years. You really have to wait at least 5 or 7 years to get an answer. But the pressure to get the answer was so intense, people publish all the data in 3 years. So we don't really know yet whether it's better or worse. But, as I said, the number of transplants has basically disappeared since 1999. And the question is, with the new data coming out, where's it going to go? And my guess is that within another year or two, the new data will be mature enough to be able to really answer this question finally. Does transplant for breast cancer add benefit? And if it does, what group of patients is it most beneficial in? And then we'll have to rethink the whole issue again. Whether this is something that would be appropriate for patients with breast cancer, and should we start doing it again? And it's been very interesting to watch how these transplants have progressed over the years. First, thousands would be done a year with no good data scoring. Now transplants are not being done at all, but we now start getting some data that says, yeah, that could maybe well work after all. So anyway, that's what I have to talk about today, and it doesn't come out very well. The other thing going on today on campus is the structured money thing over here in Williams Park. So my dog's over there with my wife right now. Let me just stop there and talk for a little over 45 minutes. Let me try to get some questions from the group. And you don't have to confine it to breast cancer transplants. Anything to do with chemotherapy for breast cancer, I'd be happy to try to deal. Thank you for your service.
Does that include total body radiation along with the high-dose chemotherapy?
Usually for the transplants for breast cancer, we don't give total body radiation. It's not as effective as we'd like it to be. There's always a trade-off between toxicities. I mean, the idea of the transplants get around the toxicity of the bone marrow. There is other toxicity. If you go too high, you get troubles with the liver, the lungs, the kidneys. And radiation is not as effective at killing breast cancer cells as chemotherapy is, if you give it to the whole body. Now, that's different from leukemia and lymphoma. Those are cancers which are very sensitive to radiation. Normally do give total body radiation. So it's as far as toxicity, side effects, radiation and chemotherapy don't really differ all that much in the long run. They're both pretty darn toxic. Yes, ma'am.
What's the percentage of the toxicity side effects such as no hair regrowth and esophageal problems
The transplant,
that don't resolve?
virtually all the women, actually men for that matter, who go through transplant have hair come back. It's very unusual not to. I think in all the years I've been doing this, I think 1 or 2 women that did not have it come back. And it does happen. And it's a bit of a puzzle why that is. And, I mean, there are diseases that have nothing to do with cancer or treatment of cancer where the hair goes away. Autoimmune type diseases. And I always wonder whether that was what's going on. So it's an unusual circumstance, and we don't really understand that, why that is. As far as the toxicity to the gut, normally that gets better when the light count comes back. But there's certainly some patients that have some queasiness that can go on for several months. But that's relatively unusual. The women that I've seen, and I try to take care of about 300 women with breast cancer transplants, most of them are pretty much back to normal in a year. But it takes a while. There is some concern, I have to mention, that about long-term cognitive processes. This is hard to quantitate. There's not been good studies on that. There's a woman that is very active in cancer survivor groups. She had a transplant for leukemia about 18 years ago. Her name is Susan Stewart. She runs a newsletter called BNP Newsletter. And I've talked to her several times about this. And she is, now is pretty much full-time patient advocate, works with some national federal committees. She used to be actually environmental activist like. It's kind of interesting listening to talk before. Her main thing was going after nuclear power plants in Illinois, trying to decrease radiation exposure. And she said that before the transplant, she had everything right there in mind. She was at a hearing, she could quote chapter and verse It's an area that's not been explored at all in breast cancer. I mean, can we get some graft versus breast cancer? In fact, in women that have transplants. The answer is we don't know. Again, transplants for breast cancer basically disappeared in 1999. There's almost nothing going on there now. But it's an area that people are very interested in treating in. The transplants for patients with metastatic breast cancer, the results are dismal. Regular chemotherapy results are dismal. Can we add a little bit of extra oomph by giving some graft versus breast cancer effect? And it's something a couple places are working on. There's mainly people in Europe that are doing this now. It's a lot easier to do clinical research in Europe now than the United States. So that's an interesting area. There have been a handful of patients around the world over the years that had who would be transplanted because they had two cancers. A patient I took care of a while back, a young man who had something called myelodysplasia, the bone marrow stops working. He also had Ewing sarcoma, metastatic. That's an incurable disease. He did a transplant from his brother 10 years ago now. In fact, he cured both. So there's some indication that this stuff could work. And I think it's something that hopefully we can get a look at sometime. Yes.
My friend that is going down to Salt Lake City today for a stem cell, I was trying to understand some of her protocol, which I didn't understand very much of, but one part was that the cells from the donor and her cells were going to be put together, and there was the word tolerize, or could you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's the trick that is going to be tried to get around the graft versus host problem and retain the graft versus lymphoma problem. And the idea there, in this, I think I explained this in ways of getting an hour. The idea is that under certain circumstances, when the immune cells are mixed with cells that they would react with, you can put in a monoclonal antibody that instead of the immune cells getting turned on by the foreign tissue, they actually get turned off. And this is something that happens in your body all the time. I mean, when there's your immune system is exposed to your own body tissues, the last thing in the world you want to do is have an immune response. I mean, that's an autoimmune disease. And that's what gets screwed up and gets scleroderma or lupus or whatever. So there is a natural body mechanism to try to pick out what do I react against and what do I become tolerant of. And people are now learning how to manipulate this. And again, there's a particular antibody that actually seems to tilt the immune system towards being tolerant. The idea is to take the immune system of the donor, mix it with some cells from the patient, so the cells from the patient will not, basically the cells from the donor will get turned off to the cells from the patient. But once again, in the patient's body, they'll still react with the lymphoma cells. So it's an experiment. And it was attempted, there was a trial out of Boston where we were promising in children with bad leukemia, and this trial looking at adults who, for a number of reasons, would not necessarily be good candidates for a full-blown transplant. Graft versus host disease risk was too high. The idea is try to get rid of the graft versus host disease, but not get rid of the graft versus lymphoma effect. Does that make sense? It's one of these things is a bit of a long shot, but it might just work. It works in test tube, it works in mice, whether it works in humans, don't know. Yes.
I just have a question. I have a friend that went through, I'm a mammographer, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Went and she had, I think, not a lot of nodal involvement. She did the whole enchilada, the radiation, the lumpectomy, intense chemo. And she was told virtually she would not have a reoccurrence on that breast. That doesn't seem to hold true because in the last month we've seen 2 women come up with reoccurrence on the side that went through lumpectomy and high doses of chemo and radiation. Do you know anything about that or expound on that? Because I think it gives women a false sense of security.
I think it's very important that, I'm trying to be careful when I'm saying this, that adjuvant chemotherapy does not cure all women. It absolutely, in some women, can circumvent with it. It depends on how many lymph nodes, it's not yet clear whether it's better than what we've used for many years, CMF, CAF. It's those studies are ongoing. Taxol is a very effective agent. I mean, it's the agent they got from Nutri and Pacific Northwest. And there's an interesting discussion there because we did some numbers and said, we're going to cut down every Nutri in the United States to get enough Taxol. And it kind of scared people. It's an endangered species. But we finally, within a couple of months, we figured out how to manufacture it, so it's not an issue anymore. But it's a very effective in breast cancer. It actually turns out effective in lung cancer also. So it's an agent we use very commonly with metastatic breast cancer, all types of lung cancer. And what we're trying to figure out is it better than the standbys, which have been used for 30 years now for adjuvant chemotherapy for breast cancer. And those studies are ongoing, the answer is we're on that. And one thing is, you might think, well, it's good, but just throw it in. Well, you got to be a little bit careful because you don't want to use up all your bullets the first time. And that's, some women can get their adjuvant chemotherapy, as we're talking about, people looking back to cancer. You want to have something left to treat them with. Even if it's only palliative, you don't want to use up everything. Because what happens with all chemotherapy treatment of cancer, eventually cancer is wins. If you don't kill every cancer cell, cancer will eventually mutate, learn to get out of the control of that chemotherapy agent. You'll get some sort of gene that neutralizes that chemotherapy agent and doesn't work anymore. And that's what happens ultimately with cancer patients. Chemotherapy agents just simply don't work. And you've got to be careful that Taxol, which works by quite a different mechanism than the other chemotherapy drugs. You know, if we thought we could cure every patient with adjuvant chemotherapy by adding in Taxol, of course we do it, then we have to worry about that. But a lot of them aren't. We're worried that if we give Taxol up front, we can't use it later. Thanks, Todd. Yeah.
Well, this is really confusing to me because last winter my oncologist showed me the results from two different studies. One was a 3-year, one was a 5-year study on Taxol, and it just been printed, and it just came in. And I read it, and we talked about it, and he said, I'll give it to you if you want it, but
No, that's kind of what gets back to, you're absolutely right. That gets back to what I was talking about earlier. The adjuvant clinical trials, 3 years is not enough. I mean, the original stuff for the CMF, 3 years is absolutely no difference.
the one was 52 months.
52 months, which is what, 4 years. Yeah. So it's quite, I'm with you on this. We don't give Taxol for adjuvant therapy, and I don't do that. And the data, to my mind, is not out there yet. It's something that, until those clinical trials are out in 7, 8 years, and it may well be there's never a use. In which case, we won't use it. Taxol is, like I say, is effective in metastatic breast cancer, is widely used. But again, you've got to be careful with adjuvant, because a lot of those women never would have had their breast cancer come back anyway, even without the chemo. And you don't want to give them something that can do something that calls the chemo. And there's always a negative side to this possible to this. So that's why the studies are so important. The studies have been done, it's going to be years before we have the final answer. So if you get, if I get in my office, I'd say, yeah, I know the study, and that's why I'm not going to get my Taxol for adjuvant, because it's not been shown to be better yet. And CMF, again, that's what Brian Donna used 30 years ago. And we have a pretty good idea what the toxicities are, the benefits are, and we tend to stick with things that seem to work until we see something that's really better. Particularly with newer drugs. It's a good question.
you as a physician, what are your feelings about patients who come in who want to also look for sort of alternative healing modalities like CoQ10, sheep mushrooms,
What,
other types of non-Western healings?
so what I do is I just ask them to show me what they're using. And try to get as much information as we can. It was actually an interesting article in the Journal of the American Medical Association, a big conservative journal recently, about the 10 most widely used alternative medicines. And they carefully analyzed what was in these things. And the only thing they came up with that got me a little bit worried was some of these medicines have blood thinning type properties. And if we are giving chemotherapy that knocks the platelet counts down, which is part of bone marrow toxicity, you've got to be careful about that. So what I tell women and men is just bring it in, bring in the information, just look at the label, see what's in it. If it's got this blood thinning stuff in it, you've got to be careful you don't take it from the platelet counts low, because you might have bleeding problems. Otherwise, go for it. I don't have a problem with it. And I'll be the first to admit there's an awful lot of you don't know about cancer. And a lot of medicines
follow-up to your cancer patients?
Like CA 125 and such. You know, there's certain, just for those of you who don't know, there's certain, some patients' cancer will make proteins, I mean, normally occurring proteins, but the cancer making in large quantities, that will be measured with a blood test. And they're can be very useful because they are often a marker of how much cancer there is in the patient. So ovarian cancer is a little bit more common to have a marker than breast cancer, maybe. And it gives us clues when they're having an early relapse. The tumor marker starts going up, say, oh, this doesn't look good, get a CT scan, and do the here it is. Then it's useful to treat the patients. We give them some, once ovarian cancer comes back, we're not going to cure that. But we can palliate for years sometimes. So if we give them a medicine that allows the CA 125 to come down, and say, oh, we're on something. Or we give them some medicine that keeps going up, and say, this isn't working, let's switch to something else. So it gives us another tool to measure how well we're doing. So we don't have to do CT scans all the time, and CT scans aren't that good anyway. Now, there's one wrinkle to this, if the cancer cells, again, are genetically unstable, sometimes they'll stop making these things. So the tumor markers will be negative, say, hey, we're in good shape, and all of a sudden there's a big mass, and just stop making it. So it only works if it's positive. If it's negative, we can't really be sure the tumor's not detectable as opposed to just not making that marker anymore. It's also useful in multiple myeloma, for instance, where it's a good marker, and that's actually a very good measure of how much myeloma you have in the body, no matter what the marker is. What other question? Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk about long-term survivorship. Those of us who are long-term have, like yourself, seen a lot of changes over the year. Okay. I went to a medical conference 1990 when the keynote speaker got up and said, metastatic cancer is always fatal. And I'm so happy to hear that you at least are not using language like that anymore, because we know that it can be a chronic problem instead of a fatal problem. And because there are so many more of us long-term survivors, it's driven the issue of cognitive problems, where we didn't have so many years ago because we didn't have long-term survivors with cognitive problems to address.
It's a good, it says it's a good problem, when you think about it.
It's a good problem, although people like me, my line is between the chemo and menopause, I need more RAM. But one of the common survivor issues that I hear anecdotally with survivors is arthritic type problems. My rheumatologist says she's never heard of that. But you talk to survivors, especially long-term survivors, and that comes up frequently, lots of cognitive issues. And I'm curious if that's come across your desk, if you're hearing that from
No,
patients.
I do hear that, and it's, again, for long-term survivors, it's sometimes hard to figure it out, because, you know, as people are long-term survivors, they get older, just like I do and everyone else does. How much of that is treatment, and how much is just, that's going to happen anyway? My hunch is that it's real, that a lot of what we give in the way of chemotherapy accelerates a lot of the natural degenerative processes, whether it's neurological or in the joints or maybe in other places we not even think about that. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's going on. But sponsored by the Susan Komen Foundation nationwide and by the National Institute of Health. And this is to try to prevent breast cancer. Let me explain the rationale for this. And actually, Carrie Aldrich, who works with us. Carrie, raise your hand. She's got a booth in back. They'll have more information about this. Let me explain. We haven't really talked much about estrogen receptors, the sensitivity of breast cancer to hormonal treatments. That's a whole topic for a whole other day. But what we've learned is that there are a lot of things that have to do with women's hormones that increase the risk of breast cancer. And I think the topic talked earlier about melatonin and such. You know, I have a hunch or something there, big time there. But there's a lot of things in the hormones that predispose women to breast cancer. And there's a big trial in the United States that's now over, closed a couple of years ago, where women that were at high risk for breast cancer by family history, i.e. first degree relatives for breast cancer, by age, by certain other factors when they had the first kid, they were randomized. Half of them got a drug called tamoxifen, which is an anti-estrogen, half got nothing, a sugar pill. Upwards of 20,000 women got on this trial. And actually, the trial closed early because it turned out there's a dramatic decrease in risk of developing breast cancer in those who got tamoxifen. Tamoxifen is not without risks. It can cause clotting problems in some women. There's an increased risk of endometrial cancer. But basically, at the end of the day, now this study has several years follow-up. The decrease in breast cancer was substantial for women at high risk and was more than outweighed the increase in other problems. So there's a new study that is being sponsored now by the Susan Komen Foundation and the National Cancer Institute, looking at women at high risk. And there's an algorithm for that. How many family members had breast cancer, what age were they when they got breast cancer. And the randomization this time is between tamoxifen and a new anti-estrogen that hopefully will have a lot less side effects and be more effective, called Loxapine. And it's a no-cost trial to the patients and the subjects, I mean not patients who don't have breast cancer but are at risk. And it's a study that people are very excited about. It gives us not only a way to prevent breast cancer, and believe me, it's a lot easier. The treatment of breast cancer is nowhere near where we want it to be. We'd much rather have people never get it. And I think we're getting closer to making this less toxic. It also allows us to understand what's going on. I mean, we were really astonished how effective the anti-estrogen was in preventing breast cancer. We really didn't think that happened. The other thing that we're looking at with the study, and this was again a surprise for the initial trial, tamoxifen versus nothing, was that one concern about anti-estrogens is it can precipitate menopause and all the problems thereof, osteoporosis, heart problems. Turned out tamoxifen is acting in a very peculiar fashion, preventing breast cancer in a certain percentage of women. It also prevented some of the side effects of estrogen deprivation, which is osteoporosis and heart problems. When women go through menopause, their risk for heart attacks is the same as men. They don't have the protective effect of estrogen. Turned out tamoxifen has some protective effects, even though it's anti-estrogen in ways that we really don't completely understand. It has some pro-estrogen effects. Loxapine, the new drug, we hope it's going to be much more so that way. It'll be almost like an estrogen replacement, but with respect to side effects, heart, blood clots, and bones, but be even more effective in preventing breast cancer. So anyway, those of you that are cancer survivors, it may well be that some of your first kin would be eligible for this trial, if you're interested. That's probably the number one, is an algorithm again, the form is filled out, all the risks of breast cancer, and give you back which your risk of breast cancer would be, which would be an interesting piece of information in and of itself, perhaps, if you want to know that. And if you're at a certain level of risk, you'd be eligible to sign up for the trial. And Terry has some pamphlets on this in the back. I'd encourage you to talk to her, get the pamphlets, get some more information if you like. But it's a trial that we would like to get people, women in Missoula, enrolled on this and be part of the national effort to try to get it and ratchet a few more percent back to breast cancer. If we can. Okay, any other questions? I'm getting signals from the back. Say lunch is ready.
Well, I feel like an old hobo on the sad, lonesome blue. I was fair as a summer day. Now the summer days are through. You pass through places, and places pass through you. But you carry on with you on the soles of your trousers.